Welcome to Watercolors with Jaylene, and thank you for joining me today. So for today's project, I'm doing something a little bit different than my typical greeting cards and my cute little designs. This is going to be more of an abstract facial expression, or it's going to be the eyes and nose. There's no mouth, so it's a little bit different. I had done these many years ago for a client, and a whole series of them, and she absolutely loved them. And so I just thought I'd share this with you, and hopefully you will enjoy it. So if I could ask you to go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, I would really appreciate it. And if you like this video, hit the like button and also hit the little bell. That way you'll be notified when I do have future videos coming out. I try and post at least weekly, sometimes twice a week. I do have a full-time job, so unfortunately that gets in the way sometimes. But so at any rate, let's get started. So real quick for my supplies, I do have my watercolor paper. I have my pencil and eraser to pencil in the facial expressions, the eyes and the nose in the middle. And then I do have my Sharpie marker. I have got a number 8 round brush, a number 4 round brush, and then I also have a flat brush that I'll be using on the outside edges. So I penciled this all in, or drew this in before I started the video, so I didn't bore you with that. So basically it's just a 5x5 square, and then the two borders are each 1/4 inch wide. And then of course I do have my paints, my water, and a blotting towel. So to get started, I think what I'm going to do is just pencil in the eyes and the nose first. And so, and like I said, this is going to be somewhat of an abstract. So it's not going to be, you know, like what you would see in a portrait, because I can't do portraits, to be honest with you. So we're just going to draw in a big nose, and then for the eyes we're going to do like a almost like a rainbow type of curve. I don't know how to say that, and so we'll pencil that in, and I'm going to have the eyes looking over to the side. I think I'll do that one a little bit larger. Okay, so then all of these lines, I'll be erasing those after I do the, you know, the permanent marker on them. This is just to give me an idea. And you can really do any type of, you know, facial expressions that you want. If you want to use what I'm doing here, or if you have something of your own that you really like, you know, whatever works best for you. So now I do have this kind of penciled in, and I'm going to take my permanent marker and go over this. And you'll see where I'm going with all of this shortly. So with my permanent marker, you can see I kind of going a little bit wider than what I had originally put down. And it almost looks like I should probably invest in a newer Sharpie marker. Okay, and then definitely want some fun eyelashes going on here. And I guess the old crow's feet. All right, so, and you can, whoops, you can see I'm kind of making a couple little boo-boos, but that's okay. They're all going to work out in the end. It won't matter. So as you're doing this, you know, if you do something like that, don't be too hard on yourself, because they'll all kind of make sense in the end. And then for the inside, I'm just going to go ahead and pencil this in. And actually, as I'm doing this, I'm kind of thinking I'm also going to need a white gel pen just to put a little touch of white inside the eyes. So I'll have to grab one of those out of my little toolkit at the end of this. Okay. There. All right. So we have the face all drawn in. Oh, and the eyebrows. Now for the eyebrows, I think I probably will do those in black as well. And you could, you know, I'm using my marker to go ahead and color these in, but if you wanted to use just black paint, you could probably do that as well. Or if you didn't have eyebrows, then obviously you wouldn't need either one of them, right? Okay. I just kind of babble on as I'm doing this. This is, once we get going, you'll see, this is just a lot of fun. We use a lot of fun paint colors, and it turns out really cool in the end. Especially, I'll tell you what really adds a lot to it are the two little frames. They really do add a lot to it, and you'll see how that all plays out. Oh, I guess I need to kind of do this one also, right? Okay. All right. So we have that all taken care of. So now with my number 8 round brush, what I want to do is just get some water on my brush. Oh, you know, before I start that, let me back up just a minute here. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so I do want to erase any of the pencil marks that are on here. I did have pencil marks when I was drawing in the frame of this, but I had erased those before I got started on the video also. Okay, so now what I want to do is just get some water on my brush and go ahead and wet the whole area except for the eyes and just this inside area, not the two little frame areas. We want to keep those dry because I'll be doing something very different with each one of those. But this is going to be kind of a wet on wet technique. And so we want all of the colors to blend. Okay. And that's why it's very important to use the permanent marker also, so that the marker doesn't start bleeding, you know, into all the area. So we're going to be using a few different colors. I'm going to use some violet and some blue, and then yellows and oranges and greens, and just have a lot of fun with this. So right now I just have some violet on my brush, and I want to start in each of the corners and just kind of add it. And I'm sure you know that with watercolors, as they dry, they do have a tendency to lighten up. So keep that in mind as you're painting. And let me get just a little bit more purple in here. I do want to be nice and dark. Okay, so we have that in the two corners and just a little bit going across the top. So now I'm going to clean my brush off, and then I'm going to grab some blue. And this blue it's a phthalo blue. And so when I'm putting this paint on my brush, you know, it's quite a bit of paint. And I'm going to actually dab a little of that off. So I start a little lower and I work up into the purple color. And I'm just kind of going over here. I'm going to dab a little bit of paint off because I want to kind of just real easy go through and hit that and kind of blend it a little bit, kind of hurry it along, I guess. Okay, so with this, we want to, and there again, you can, you know, pretty much do your own thing. I want the blues, the purples and the blues to be on the upper portion. And now I am going to grab some of the orange and grab some orange on my brush and kind of, whoops, got a little bit of a dust spot there. Okay, so here I'm just kind of going right up a little bit, and I kind of take the paint off of my brush a little bit as I go up, blending it up into the blue area. And it's that's the look that we want to achieve, is the blending of these colors into each other. Okay, we don't want any stark lines. That's why it was so important to make sure that we were wetting the paper, you know, the entire area beforehand, so that it would blend nicely. So then, because these are the cheeky areas, we want to keep the blues or the oranges and the reds in this area. And I'm going to grab just a little more orange. And you can do as much or as little. You know, in this area, it is a little bit lighter, not quite as dark as up there. And that's on purpose, obviously. So what I want to do now is I'm going to put just a little more water down here. That could be drying out, just a hint. So I'm going to grab some green, and the green that I'm using is an emerald green. So it's kind of a bright green. And I'm going to turn this around, and like I did at the top, I'm going to start in the two corners. And I have just a little too much water on my brush. I want it pretty heavy with paint. And I'm doing the same thing here. So this is going to work up into the other part of the face. See how cool this is looking? Okay, so now that I have that on there, I'm going to kind of clean that off a little bit, and I'm going to grab some yellow. So you can see I'm kind of using just about any color. It's not, you know, there's no set colors with any of this because it is abstract. And here we want to make sure that that is blending nicely. So to come around the nose, there. Look at how cool that's looking. Pretty awesome, isn't it? And so, as I mentioned before, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do that right now. Hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And if you're enjoying this video, hit the like button. Now I'm adding just a little bit more red in here, you know, while it's still pretty damp, so that that can blend out a little bit. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and just grab a little bit of the yellow. Not a lot of water on my brush because there's enough water on the paper right now. Okay, so go ahead and just kind of make sure that every little area is, you know, does have paint on it. So that is pretty much done. Here, I do want to just touch this up just a little bit, just to make sure that there's paint blending there. Okay, so that really is exactly how I want it to look. The blending I really like. The colors are awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry. And while that's drying, I want to start on the outside. So for the outside, I'm going to start with the very outside one because we want all of that to dry and I don't want the colors blending together. So for the outside, I'm going to be using the cadmium orange and not a huge amount of paint. You know, I don't want it real dark. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint this in. And I'm still using my number 8 round brush for this. And I don't know if I mentioned, because I actually have started this video like 4 times, but I had done a series of these faces and they all had different expressions on them for a client several years ago. And that's what prompted me to do this today. And she absolutely loved them. She framed these with black frames and they looked amazing. Very bold and just amazing with the black frames. It really makes the picture, the painting itself pop. Okay, so I'm kind of turning this from side to side because I don't want to touch that inside area because it is still wet. All right, and then come down here. And then, so then once this dries, this orange frame, then I'm going to add a little bit of a texture to that. So you can see there's a lot of great colors, very bold, very vibrant, just really cool. And you can do any kind of a facial expression that you want. And that's what I had done originally with these 4 paintings. They all had different eye expressions, or, you know, different looks with the eyes. And you know how the eyes really can say so much. Okay, so I've got this pretty well painted. And there again, it's just a quick and easy base color. If you wanted to use a different color, that'd be great also. So I'm going to give this just a minute to dry because I don't, with anything that I do moving forward, I'm going to be putting, painting wet on dry. I don't want any more of the blending happening. So I have to make sure that everything is nice and dry before I move forward. So we're going to give this just a minute to dry. It won't take that long. And then we'll move forward with the next step. And while we're waiting for that, I know I've said it before, but if you could go ahead and subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. And if you would like my video, share it with your friends and family. I really appreciate that. It helps my channel grow. And I am a small channel. I have a full-time job. I do this kind of as a hobby on the side, and I just absolutely have a great time doing it. And then down below in the description box, I will be putting links to some of the paints in the paper and brushes and such. And the links will go to Amazon if you purchase them from there. I do make a small commission on it. It's not much. It doesn't affect your pricing whatsoever. It's just a convenience for you so that you aren't out scouting around looking for everything. And so on that note, I'm going to let this dry for just a moment and then we'll continue on. Okay, perfect. So while I was letting this dry and pause the video for a minute, I did go and grab my number 1 brush. It's a much smaller brush, and that's going to, I'm going to use that while I'm working on the frame part. So I used the cadmium orange on this outside frame, and now I'm going to go back through with my red, my crimson red, and with quite a bit of paint on my brush because I do want it to be a much stronger look. So I do have the red paint on my brush, and I just want to go through and add a little bit of texture to this outside. And you could do anything. A lot of times I do use dots. I absolutely love my dots and dashes. If you haven't seen any of my videos, go back through and check some of them out. I got some really cute stuff there, and you'll see that I do use a lot of dots, a lot of dashes on many of my, especially my greeting cards, but on a lot of my designs I use them. Okay, let me turn this. Okay, and then I'll start over here. I'd say the biggest trick to this is making sure that you don't touch any of the parts of the painting that are wet, and take your time and let them dry in between. You know, take a break, go grab a glass of water or a cup of tea, and let them dry. Sometimes I use a blow dryer to help the process along a little bit. I just didn't feel like getting it out, so I went and grabbed a glass of water. Okay. And we'll start up here. I want to make sure that this is all in the frame. I actually do my videoing with my cell phone, so every now and then I have to take a quick peek just to make sure that I have everything in the frame. This is a larger piece than what I usually am working on with my my little greeting cards. You know, they're much smaller, so I don't have to worry about it quite as much. All right, and now for the last side of this. And then of course, with this, if you wanted to use different colors, and as I mentioned, you know, using dots, you can always, you know, kind of change it up a bit, make it your own. You do you. When I made the 4 different ones, the 2 things that I did keep consistent on all 4 of them were these 2 outside frames. So that's what tied the 4 together. And then of course the expressions on each one were different. Okay, so now that is the outside frame, and I'm going to clean that brush off. So now with my flat brush, I am going to work on this inside frame. And this flat brush is actually a little bit larger than the one that I usually use, but I couldn't find the one I usually use, so I will work with this and hopefully I won't mess it up. So basically I'm using just a straight black paint, and on this I just want to do kind of like a checkered look. All right, and then here so you can see if I had my smaller flat brush, I would have more checkers going on, but with this one, I don't want to get too awfully busy. I still want to keep that nice look. And so this is a 5-inch square. You could make these larger. You know, you could always do a 6-inch. You probably could go a little bit smaller, I would say. I just kind of thought the 5 was what worked best for me. Whoops. And see, when you're doing this, you don't want to press too hard because that's what will happen. And I'm actually not even going to try and fix that. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. That's part of the uniqueness or originality, is having a little mess up in there, right? We'll go with that. Okay. So basically that is pretty much completed at this point. And you can see how the colors all blended together really nice. Oh, you know, I do want to do one little thing here. With the eyes, which I had mentioned this earlier. So let me go grab my gel pen for the eyes on this. Okay, so for the eyes, I'm going to make them blue. Maybe I'll make them green. Kind of changed my mind on that at the last minute. And this is just this is actually a green that I had mixed up at Christmas time. I call it my Grinch green. And it's actually hooker's green and lemon yellow mixed. But when you're painting the Grinch, it's perfect. So I'm just kind of putting a little bit of paint in there. Give our he or she or some green eyes. Okay, perfect on that. And then with my gel pen, I do want to go ahead and just do a little bit of a white reflection. Okay. So that now does complete my abstract expression face with the cute frame around it. And one more time, I will go ahead and ask you to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. If you have enjoyed this painting, go ahead and hit the like button. And then again, if you could share it with your family and friends, I would really appreciate it. I will put all of the details down in the description box. And until next time, ciao for now.